And I had bought that year like what appeared to be a screaming deal on a buy and rehab. Like it was a great neighborhood. Like the house was in amazing shape. It was just a tired landlord who had moved out of state and the house got torn up. It should have been like a slam dunk type deal. But even after it was fully renovated, we had all these unexpected repairs that came up, and it was like the sewer line was rotten all the way across the street, and like all these crazy things. And then we got to those two new constructions that had been in my portfolio now for a couple of years, and it was like there was zero maintenance or expenses. So they were just, it was like it was really it became very obvious to me on the investor side that I needed to really be careful on these like buy and rehab properties because like that buy and rehab property looked great on paper, but it was all those unknown kind of nickel and dime maintenance expenses that just made it like I wished I wouldn't even have bought it. And it was the polar opposite with those new constructions. And then for me, with the construction company specifically, is we look to scale. It's just these heavy rehab projects that we've done in the past can be really great to like force value or make, you know, good chunks of appreciation in them by doing these large rehabs. But it's almost impossible, in my opinion. And I know there's guys that do this at scale, but it's very difficult to scale that because I was constantly getting sucked back in with it's just all these unknowns. Once you start gutting these properties and get into them, you're always getting surprised by something or finding something unique, and there's all these weird problems to solve. We look at new construction, we continue to look at ways that we can systematize and scale. We're still doing a lot of infill lots, but even with the infill lots, the new constructions, there's a little bit less surprises. There may not be as big, you know, they may be tighter sometimes when we're looking at the construction costs because construction costs are high right now. But there's just a lot less surprises, and it's a lot more scalable to me for a business model.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point. A lot of people think of scaling as far as like capacity, and they think of only just the financial component of it. Like, how do I scale financially? And they don't think about the capacity of like, we only have a certain amount of time per day. We only have a limited brain cells that we can kill before before it's over. And when you're thinking about like from the investor perspective, it's like you want to scale up, right? But let's say you got 100 properties tomorrow. That's good. Technically, that would be good scaling. But then your capacity to maintain and manage those properties and have a well-running portfolio becomes extremely difficult if they're an older property. From the new construction side, the capacity of managing them is incredibly easy because there's very little that's going to happen in the first 10 years of ownership. There's less surprises. Uh, and then same thing you mentioned from the builder side, it's, when you're buying a property that's 40, 50 years old, there's a never ending amount of surprises, right? Even the inspection report and every property is not going to be the same thing. And you're not going to be searching for the same property anyway, right? You may have a criteria, but it's never going to be exactly the same. But it is incredibly easy to look for the same type of lot. If you're looking for a quarter acre flat land with utilities already hooked up, well, those are pretty easy to identify. And then once you figure out which models you like, and most builders like you have a couple of models that they prefer, and their crews know how to knock those models out. So they become very proficient. And it's a way of building a core competency, right? You know exactly which model you like and what type of acreage, and you know exactly how the numbers are going to operate. And now you can kind of just plow forward without having to constantly reinvent the wheel and work with an engineer and have different permits every single time.